What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Drive for Show DFS for Dough here on RotoGrinders. I am Justin Van Zuiden, aka STL Cardinals 84. I've got Mr. Derek Farnsworth, Notorious, alongside me, and we've got the John Deere Classic this week, which is always a fun event for me because I usually go every year. Not going this year because we're going to Florida for a little bit. So I guess if there's a year where I feel okay missing the tournament that I always go to, this would be the year because it's a bad field this week. So we will dig into the John Deere Classic here shortly, but plenty of time to get through all the golfers that we're going to have to get through this week. So Noto, what's going on? How was your week?
Yeah, we definitely got a lot of time, and we're doing this on StreamYard. So any comments that you have on YouTube, we can see just on our little screen. So if you have any questions at all, help us fill the time. It's going to be a little bit of a pain getting through this field. But, man, there are bad weeks, and there are really bad weeks. And I don't think I could have done any worse last week at the Travelers. We talked on the show. My fade above 10K was going to be Xander for no reason whatsoever, really. I didn't like his track record at Pga courses. My model still liked him. I play him every week, but faded him, so that was pretty rough. And then, I had Cantlay everywhere. I had him in Showdown, had a bet on him, had a top 10 on him, and 9 bogeys and a double later. He falls out of the top 10. So it was a bad week for me. I'm hoping you did a little bit better.
Not much. I guess it wasn't great, but didn't lose everything. But it was just one of those weeks I didn't have much exposure to Xander either, so quite a few miscuts, too many landmines out there last week, and was definitely an interesting finish there. I mean, Pga, a really tough decision on what to do on 18 with a group behind him, and wondering if he should go with a one-shot lead to try to make a birdie and be aggressive, or hit something safe and hit the fairway. Missed the fairway into the left-hand bunker, and then still was aggressive from there and didn't get it out of the bunker, and then had to pitch out, made a double, and then Xander ended up making a birdie anyway. So it was maybe the right call to be aggressive, but he's had a couple heartbreakers now, and it's tough for him to not get that win. But and he's probably suddenly one of the best players we've got in the field this week. So it seems like most of the golf community is rooting for him, and it was tough to see him come so close.
Man, yeah, felt bad for him on that one. He's such a fun golfer to watch because he's going to let you know how he feels after every single shot. I mean, he was dropping clubs, getting excited. I mean, it was a lot of fun to watch. Somebody like Xander and Cantlay, they're just even killed. They're not the most fun golfers to watch at times, even though I play a ton of them in DFS, but. Man, I was watching it with my brother-in-law and my dad. They're not big golfers. They don't watch a lot of golf. And even they were just like, what's he doing trying to get out of that bunker? Why doesn't he just chip out of the side? And we were all kind of amazed by the decision there at the end. Obviously, it was hard to tell if he just scolded the first one or if I couldn't tell where it hit in the bunker, but it just came back like 6 inches. I don't know how much he could have advanced it. I think just chipping out would have been the play. Obviously, that's hindsight, but man, felt bad for him. And then Xander, when the pressure's off, goes and throws a dart and gets the birdie. So we've been harping on Xander for years for not winning in these full fields. So I guess we can get that monkey off his back at least. I'm a big Xander fan, but I was kind of hoping for him or Cantlay to run away with it. But, yeah, fun week, fun finish. It was definitely a lot of drama there at the end.
Yeah, for sure. And, as far as, Pgala's shot was really difficult. Even on the replays, you really don't see much until it plunks back down there right next to him, and it went 4 inches backwards, according to the shot tracker. So tough. I mean, if he would have just chipped out 20, 30 yards, he'd have still been 80, 90 yards out, and maybe he's able to save a par, which would have gotten him into a playoff. But you never know. The hole might have the hole might have played out differently, even for Xander behind him if that wouldn't have happened. So. Tough to you can't rewrite history, and just have to learn from it and move on. And he's the third most expensive golfer this week. So it looks like DraftKings might be adding live contests as well. They were available this morning, and then they took them down, which prompted people to think that the PGA Tour, because DraftKings is the official fantasy game of the PGA Tour, the tour made them take it down, but then they were back up this afternoon. So it seems like we might get showdowns for the live tournaments, which with 3 rounds and no cut makes sense. We kind of figured they would do it that way if they ended up offering those, but depending on how big the prize pools get, it's going to be tough though with those being showdown only for the moment to break that down on a full week basis. But surely we'll probably end up with projections or something like that eventually. So your thoughts on Live Tour for DFS?
Yeah, I mean, showdown only reminds me of Outlaw back in the day. So
Right.
I might have to give him a go. Yeah, it was interesting to see him up in the lobby. We do a lot of golf content, so if the demand's there, I'm sure we'll have content and cover it in our shows and stuff. So we'll see. I mean, there's only 7 more events the rest of the year, something like that.
Yeah, I think they're only doing 8 this first year, so 7 to go, including this week. But we'll see where that goes going forward, and it'll be interesting to see. So, particularly as more names go over there, Carlos Ortiz, Matthew Wolff, and one other were the casualties today over to the Live Tour. So not exactly the big names that people were kind of making it out to be during the week when they said there was going to be a few more. But, Wolff's OWGR has gone from in the 20s to like 200. So, I mean, those are the type of golfers that you really can't blame for taking that chance. And, we'll see how many more end up doing that over the coming weeks.
I mean, how crazy is it that anytime somebody withdraws, anytime somebody does anything, it's just the rumors just start flying that they're going to Live. So Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, and then even Kokrak. So he hits his ball on his final hole. He's going to miss the cut anyway. Hits it like 80 yards over the green. I don't know what happened. And he just decided to walk off the course because he wasn't going to go back, hold everyone else up, and re-hit that shot. And so the rumors flying about him too. Who knows? Some of them might be true, but it's not just because of one action.
Yeah, that's going to be the narrative that everyone tries to cling to anytime something like that happens, for sure. All right, anything else from last week or just in general before we dig in?
Yeah, comeback season continues. We saw Norman Jong win on the KFT last week. This week, Haotong Lee gets the W, over there on the DP World Tour. So I got to think Zach Johnson or Steve Stricker is going to win this week, comeback season.
Boy, if you would have told me 2 years ago that Zach Johnson would be 7,200 at the John Deere Classic, I don't care if he's walking around this course with a cane. Zach Johnson at 7,200 in the John Deere Classic, that's like an autoplay. I don't care how bad he is. The field is terrible, and he dominates this place. So we'll see if the comeback season, I suppose Stricker would be even more so given that he basically plays on the senior tour now, but a Champions Tour now. But if you would have given us those prices for those guys a couple years ago, everybody would just be smashing them as DFS plays this week. So we'll see where this week leads. It's going to be ugly out there, so we'll probably get through this fairly quickly, no matter how much I try to stall for time here at the beginning of the show. But why don't you tell the people about the course?
All right. So it's a course that's, we've been on the tour for a while, so we know a lot about it. TBC Deer Run in your neck of the woods. Par 71, the measure's just under 7,300 yards. Like I mentioned last week, I've been, gathering course data from 42 different courses. This plays as the 6th easiest on tour. Obviously, the wind's going to, change that each year, but year over year, it's about the 6th easiest. The driving accuracy is really high thanks to a combination of really wide fairways and the fact that a lot of golfers, choose to hit less than driver on a lot of the holes. So fairway's easy to hit. That leads to a high green regulation rate, about 75% on average, which is extremely high. And that leads to putting contests more often than not. CJ, Stricker, Spieth, Bryson, all these guys, very good players, very good history at the John Deere. You're going to have to make over 20 birdies if you even want to have any shot of contention. And yeah, I mean, I'm not looking at any specific type, but I think you want to hit fairways, you want to make putts, and then, approach is going to be critical. But we've seen like average approach guys get it done here. So I don't know. I always weigh approach. I'm just not like 100%. That's the only thing that matters this week.
Yeah, the 23 straight years, the winning score has been at least 16 under par at this tournament. That's crazy. One year where maybe it's a little breezy, or one year where it's tougher scoring conditions. Nope, hasn't happened. It is just birdie fest every single year at this course. I went back to, let's see, 3 years ago. So Zach Johnson. Now I was looking through my article, one of my old articles, because I knew I had written this up. And yeah, okay. So Zach Johnson has played here 14 times. He's made the cut every time, and the 6 top 3 finishes. 6 top 3 finishes, 14 consecutive made cuts at this tournament. And for what it's worth, 3 years ago, he was $9,600 on DraftKings. So
what's Stricker's record like? I don't think he's ever missed a cut either.
Yeah, it's got to be similar. I'd have to dig a little bit more. Stricker didn't play this year, and I guess the 1 year was canceled, so I take that back. It's only 13 for 13 for Zach Johnson instead of 14 for 14.
In that case, never mind.
2 years ago it was canceled, but Stricker's very similar. Zach Johnson, 69th, 2nd, 21st, 3rd, 1st, 2nd, 2nd, 3rd, 50 or 34th, 5th, 16th, 37th, and 34th. So only one of those 13 finishes was below 40th place too. It's just weird. I mean, he's an Iowa guy, this Midwest guy. This isn't like a home game for a lot of golfers. So not a lot of guys who take it super seriously, unless obviously they're new to the tour or something. But in any case, a couple guys that tend to play this course real well, and as Noto mentioned, always a lot of birdies, always a lot of greens in regulation, and oftentimes a putting contest. If you're not making putts here, you're not going to win, and the cut is probably going to be several strokes under par. So that's what we've got in front of us this week. Anything else on the course or anything in general?
I don't think so. Course history does matter, even though it's a birdie fest. So if you want to factor it in a little bit, and there are guys that are going to play well no matter what. But course history, on average, compared to the other courses, is a little bit more important here than most places.
All right. This field stinks, so you're going to think that a lot of golfers are overpriced. A lot of golfers in this field that are at the top, you're used to seeing in like the $7K price range on DraftKings. And after the field list was announced, Davis Riley pulled out, Daniel Berger pulled out, a couple other golfers pulled out, and we're left with just 4 guys at 10K plus on DraftKings. And those are the aforementioned Theegala, the current version of Jason Day, who probably hasn't been 10K in 6 years, Adam Hadwin, who is now the betting favorite at 10-1, and Webb Simpson. Okay, so what the heck do we do here?
Yeah, so I was, our good friends at scoresandodds.com, their golf page is my favorite place to view golf odds each week. And so, yeah, Webb 12-1. Hadwin, you can get him 18-1, but he is 10-1 at some places. Everyone else, 27 or worse to 1. I don't think I ever remember seeing, only 2 guys under 20-1. So, we've seen some long shot winners, like Michael Kim won here that 1 year. So if you're betting, man, there's a lot of good value in the 50s and 60s. And for DFS purposes, why is Jason Day this much? I know everything's relative in these fields, but he hasn't done anything. He doesn't have any course history either. Theegala doesn't seem like the best course fit. I think it's a pretty big overreaction to him finishing second last week. I don't know how he's going to react. So if I am playing anyone up here, it's going to be Webb or it's going to be Hadwin. But, Webb's only played here. He's never played here either. So, yeah, I don't know. Hadwin seems like the safe play. I would normally say these type of weeks are good for stars and scrubs because the 6K isn't that much different than the 7K. 7K is not much different than the 8K. But I don't want to pay up for any of these stars. That's the problem. So I think balance is probably going to be, my preferred build in single entry.
I do like Hadwin. He finished 8th here the last time he played here. It's been a few years, but I think he's the play. I would rank Hadwin, Simpson, Thigala, Day if I had to rank them. So, but again, you don't have to. But I think getting a little bit of exposure to these guys in GPPs is fine. You can probably start your cash game lineup with somebody in the 9s, and there's only 4 of those guys too. So if you think, you look at all the salaries, there's just not a lot of guys to pay up for this week. We're used to seeing 6 or 7 guys above 10K, maybe 5 or 6 guys in the 9Ks, and we've only got 4 in the 10Ks and 4 in the 9Ks this week. So, you got to pick somebody, unless you're doing a full lineup of 8K golfers, which there are plenty of those. But if you want, you could probably start with somebody like Charles Howell at 9,300. These are the types of events that Charles Howell just has made bank on throughout the years. He's played here 3 of the last 4 editions, 19th, 6th, 23rd, and just steady in these types of tournaments. And even though he's not the same golfer, obviously now, these are still the events where I don't mind playing him. So you've also got Denny McCarthy, Maverick McNeely, and Bezuidenhout in this range. So your thoughts on the 9Ks?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on Charles Howell. I think he's probably the safest play of anybody above 9K on a per dollar basis. Him and Hadwin definitely going to be up there for me. You mentioned the course history. His form's been a lot better recently too. He's gaining a lot of strokes tee to green, and historically a very good bent putter. So I do like Charles Howell quite a bit. McNeely coming off a back-to-back missed cuts. I think he's in a good spot. I think it's a good bounce back spot for him. If he was in a little bit better form, he would certainly be more than Thigala and Jason Day. So I think he's probably at a little bit of a discount relative to these other guys. It seems like a good course fit for McCarthy, but I don't like the price. And the same goes for Seabez. I was kind of disappointed with his miscut last week. He wasn't even really close. I think he was 1 under on Thursday and then just fell apart on Friday. So, yeah, I mean, if you're playing course history angle, McNeely, Howell, Hadwin got to be the safest options up here.
Yeah, you can give me 20 lashings. I bet the head-to-head matchup on Friday with Seabez over your boy Brian Harmon.
Wow.
And
why would you do that to me? Jeez.
I believe they ended with like an 8-shot difference. I don't know. It was pretty much over by the time they got to the bag 9, so I didn't follow it very close. But Bezuidenhout was kind of straddling the cut line there. I like betting those guys sometimes on Fridays to go low, and he went high. He zigged on me, so that's okay. We lost that one, and it wasn't particularly close. So yeah, I'm probably out on him this week too.
All right, so
it's Howell and McNeely for I'm with you on that range. This type of course, rewards guys who are going to be aggressive and fire at the pins. And McNeely when he's on, he makes a lot of birdies. I think it's a nice bounce back spot for him. It'll be interesting to see kind of where the ownership trends as we kind of refine that here throughout the week. All right, the 8Ks is where we finally start to pick up some volume. We've got maybe some guys that are generally better golfers that have been struggling. We've got some younger guys that have been playing better of late, like a Nick Hardy. It's really interesting to see kind of the dynamic of the golfers in here. You got guys that like Brendan Todd struggled last week. Lonzo Griffin struggled last week. Lucas Glover's been a little hit or miss lately. But then you compare that to guys like Hardy. Patrick Rogers has played well here in the past too. So what do you think about some of these 8K golfers?
Yeah, I actually like this range quite a bit. You mentioned Brendan Todd. So missed a cut on the number last week, had a chance there on his last couple holes. He just got off to a bad start on Thursday. Talk about a guy that's fairways and putting. He's 3rd in this field in fairways gained, and he's 1st in this field in strokes gained putting. So I think he's a perfect fit for the course. He did finish 18th here the last time he played it. I think Cameron Davis is interesting. He's a guy that makes a ton of birdies, top 10 in this field in birdie or better rate. First over the last 2 years, actually. He's been, 2 for 2 at this course. I'll probably be off of Lucas Glover. I think a lot of people could go there. He did win here last year. I just don't trust him in a putting contest. I know he got the job done last year, credit to him, but his putting is really bad, especially right now. So I'll probably be off of Glover. Number 3 in my model, Lonzo Griffin. I don't know what to do with that information. He rated out well for me last week. Similar to Todd, I think they were in the same group. Got off to a slow start on Thursday. He did battle back, almost made the cut, but he didn't. So I'll go back to Lonzo. I like CT Pan. He's kind of a fairways and greens type of golfer. I think Adam Long is interesting. So honestly, I don't mind 6 of these guys for a lineup. I know we talked about that a week or 2 ago, maybe at the U.S. Open. But yeah, I like it.
Yeah, but did you think those 6 mid-range guys would be Adam Long and Lucas Glover and CT Pan? We were talking about Tony Finau and Tyrell Hatton and those kind of guys a couple weeks ago.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if all the 10Ks missed the cut. I mean, it's that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see much of a difference between Tigala, Day, Lonzo, Cam Davis.
So it's a really good week not to eat whatever ends up being the massive chalk, because there's just not a lot of opportunity cost. Like, there's nobody in this field that you would run out and say, "Oh, I got to make sure I have this guy," right? Like, there's no screaming underpriced value. Obviously, it's probably going to end up being Zach Johnson for me, but for people who aren't tied to this event and see what he's done lately, and that's not going to stand out either. So there's nobody that you absolutely have to have. So don't be afraid to go away from some of the chalk this week for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I'm interested to see ownership. I don't think we have the first set out yet, but
it's so bad. The field is so bad that Trey has had trouble finding it, finding enough to get it up to 600%.
Yeah, and answer Timothy's question, yes, Berger's out, and Bill, yes, Robert Garrigus is in the field. So I don't know how cheap he is, but I imagine pretty cheap.
Yeah, pretty much anybody with status that wanted to be in the field this week is probably in there. So, all right, let's see. I agree on those thoughts on the 8Ks, Davis and Hardy. What did you mention, Hardy? Your thoughts on him?
I do like Hardy, playing well. He's a guy that, has been up and down the last couple of years. He's actually played here twice in 2017, 2018. We think of these young guys as not having any course history, but when they do, I kind of like it. So, I like Hardy as well.
He's also from Northbrook, Illinois, and he went to University of Illinois. So he is a through and through Illinois guy.
Yeah, I like that.
You know who else is from Illinois?
That's probably why he played in those years, but who?
Well, yeah, Hardy was like, when he was the up and coming college guy, they gave him a sponsor exemption a couple years. So that's how he got in the past. Anyway, Doug Gim is from Illinois as well. So
no thanks.
He's in the 7Ks. He's even got a bump this week. Anyway, all the narratives and the recent play, I like Hardy quite a bit this week. So he is my favorite of the 8Ks for sure.
What about JT Poston? He almost got in the playoff last week.
Yeah, he did. Had a pretty solid week. Let's see. I still got the leaderboard up. 62, 70, 67, 64. So ended up tied second after Tigala doubled the last hole. But another guy, aggressive guy, tends to get in trouble on courses that have a lot of trouble, but this course doesn't have much of that. So I think he's interesting.
Yeah, I think he led the field in approach too.
Yeah, 8K. Right at 8K. So definitely a solid tournament play for sure. All right.
Champ 8,000.
Yeah, I think I'm off of him. I don't know. I mean, this isn't necessarily a Bombers course, so I don't know. But I haven't played Cam Champ in a long time.
Yeah, same.
All right, let's move into the upper end of the 7K range. Who do you like in there?
So the guys at the top that are probably going to be popular are Ches Reavie and John Huh. I mean, they've both been playing well. Reavie's got a bunch of top 25s in his last 8 to 10 events. And John Huh coming off 3 straight top 25s. They both have, pretty good course history here as well. So I think they're interesting. But again, we haven't seen ownership yet. There are going to be a lot of pivots this week. Like you mentioned, I do think it's a good week to kind of get away from that chalk. So we'll see. Moving down, Svensson's a guy that's very good with his irons, can be hit or miss with the putter. Shank's got the great course history, back-to-back top 6s here. He's interesting. He makes a lot of birdies, at least, long-term if you look at his stats. Me and you always love to play Alex Smalley, so I'll go there a little bit. He played here last year. And that's pretty much it for me above 7,500.
Yeah, Shank, a couple good results, as you mentioned. Smalley 47th last year. Doug Gim 18th here last year. And he's from Illinois. I'll play some Doug Gim this week. Fine. If there's ever an event where I can't find enough golfers to round out my player pool, this one is it. So I will go back to my my Doug Gim roots this week with some exposure at 7.6K. So Svensson, definitely my favorite, though. Again, the birdie maker, aggressive type player. And I was impressed. One of the feature groups on Saturday, Svensson was doing pretty well. He was paired with Scotty Scheffler, and the two of them both had a couple of the best rounds of the day on Saturday. I think Scheffler was like 5 under and Svensson was 4 under, and he was playing real well. So I like him at 7,700. Not that overpriced compared to where he's been in a few of the recent weeks. So Svensson, Gim, don't mind the Schenk angle. And Kevin Streelman's another guy who's played well here in the past. So, again, relative to the rest of the field, not a whole lot separating these guys from golfers who are priced $600, $700, $800 higher than them. So, you can definitely get a few golfers in here and feel okay about it. So, Dylan Fratelli, a past winner here. You mentioned Michael Kim winning the 1 year. Fratelli is another guy who just randomly won this event a couple years back. Hasn't done much of anything since, but that's probably why he's a little overpriced at 7,600. So, all right, thoughts on kind of the middle to bottom part of the 7K range?
I have no recollection of Dylan Fratelli winning this event. Not at all. I don't remember that week.
It was 3 years. It was the year before COVID hit.
Okay. Yeah, that's strange because I remember all the other ones I'm looking at. Anyway, so 7,400. David Lipsky's been great ball striking and just can't putt. You know, I played him in some showdown last week, and he was pretty bad. I think he missed like 6 4-footers and in, something
Who's
like that. David Lipsky.
Oh, that's right. Yes,
miscuts right on the number, all due to putting. So that's probably not great at this course. But if you look at his long-term stats, he's actually a decent putter. So maybe he can turn it around this week. I think Steve Stricker is certainly in play. 6 straight top 11s on the Champions Tour. Almost won the Senior U.S. Open last week. Lost to Padraig Harrington. I was going to look at how long the courses of the Champions Tour are because 7,300 seems kind of long for a guy getting to his age. But, again, I'll play some Steve Stricker. Never missed a cut here, at least as far as I went back. I'll continue to play Hank Lebioda. Good on approach again last week. Top 10 here last year. So I like that. I'm interested to see Taylor Pendrick. So he's been dealing with a rib injury. We haven't seen him since the Players' Championship, finished T13 there. So he hasn't played in 3 months. But he's a huge talent compared to everyone else around him. So interested.
Can you play after that much time off with that type of injury?
I mean, I'm just interested to see him more than anything else. I probably won't play him, but it was a name that I was like, yeah, where's he been? So I had to look into it a little bit more. Nate Lashley's been playing well. Chris Goddard, you got to keep playing him, I guess. Ryan Armour seems like the perfect course fit. I don't know why he struggled so bad here in the past, but fits the mold of fairways and a good putter.
Yeah, Goddard. I mean, would it surprise anybody if like Goddard went and won this tournament?
No, not at all. I mean, we saw. I think Bryson got his breakout win here, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Spieth too. So, you know, that's the pattern. Like Spieth and Bryson, 1 year and then never to be seen again. That's just, you know, that's just how the John Deere Classic can help make some of these young guys into first-time winners, and then they just move along to greener pastures. Like I remember Bryson won, and that was probably one of my top 3 DFS golf weeks ever, and I was there and needed him to win, and it was really neat. And then I remember him coming back the next year. And again, this tournament used to always be the week before the Open Championship. So that's part of the reason why the field always stinks. It's the week before a major. Nobody wants to play. They did provide like a charter flight to those that decided to play in the John Deere Classic and then also in the Open Championship. But you were never going to get, you know, the week before an overseas major, you were never going to get the best of the best. And so Bryson won the tournament, came back the next year, played like 8 holes, and he was like 2 over par, and he was like, oh, my back hurts or whatever. I've got to withdraw. I don't even remember whether it was ankle, knee, back, whatever. And he was beelined out of there after 8 or 9 holes and then hasn't played since. So and won't be playing going forward with his new affiliation with the Live Tour. But the big golfers, after they get their breakthroughs, maybe it's Goddard, maybe it's another guy. I mean, if there was ever a week, Noto mentioned this earlier, if you're just tuning in, there was ever a week to take a shot on somebody with some big betting numbers, if you're betting outright winners or top fives, this is certainly a tournament that's about as wide open as it's going to get. So anything else above 7K? Like if you're on Stricker, are you okay with Johnson too?
Yeah, got to be okay with both of them. You can't make a case for one and not the other, I don't think. Other guys above 7K, Smotherman's been playing good. He's a top 4 ball striker in this field, taking the chance with the short game, but a guy they'll fire at some pins. Sam Ryder's been a little bit better. And then Timothy had a question for us. Guys that we don't mind placing a bet on for the top 5. In terms of value, in my model, it's Lonzo Griffin 12-1 right now. But I would wait for FanDuel. They usually have better top 5 and top 10 odds.
Yeah.
They usually post those late Monday night. So that would be my recommendation. And how do I follow you guys? Hey, Scores and Odds. I mean, that's the place to get all of our bets. You can also follow us on Twitter, RotoGrinders, all that good stuff.
Good stuff. But yeah, FanDuel's odds are generally somewhat favorable on those. I found some decent ones on MGM as well, if that's legal in your state. DraftKings has some good lines on some other sports, but a lot of times their golf lines are a little bit harder to beat than some of the other sites. So what about somebody like Charlie Hoffman here?
I tried it last week. Looked good one round. And the ball striking's coming back a little bit, but the short game is just so bad. So if he had a better course history, I'd be more willing to do it. He had a really good history at the Travelers and then missed the cut again. So, I mean, I don't hate it, but I probably won't try it again. Yeah,
I probably won't pull the trigger either, but definitely a guy that people will stop and notice in that salary range. Scott Brown dominates easy courses and weak fields generally, if you want to take that, but he grades out horribly in our projections. Looks like Noto's model as well. His numbers lately have just been awful, so that's a tough sell too, but these are the types of events where he will sometimes pop. So, all right, let's move into the 6Ks here before we round it out. Good luck, I guess.
Well, Vaughn Taylor, if you're playing Stricker and Zach Johnson, rounded out with Vaughn Taylor. Great course history, and he's gained 11 strokes on approach his last 3 events. Historically, a very good putter. The irons are clicking. He's typically a guy that hits a lot of fairways. So 6,800, sign me up for that. I think he's one of the better plays below 7,500, really. Hodges is okay. Lee Hodges at 6,900. My model likes Rory Sabatini, Chase Seifert. And that is all I have for you.
Yeah, I think Sabatini is okay at that price. Peter Malnati is another guy that's got some decent history here. He's had some pretty good rounds, but you're just kind of hoping at that point. And there's enough good plays in the 7K range that I just don't think you need to risk it with a whole lot under 7K. Buckley, I think, is all right. Grayson Sig, maybe if you're chasing a little bit of upside, but I don't know. I think sticking with at 7,100, you have Armour. 7,200, you have Zach Johnson, Lipsky. You get up into the upper 7Ks, you've got all those guys we talked about: Smalley, Gim, Svensson, Shanks. So almost like getting 2 of those guys rather than one more expensive player and then dipping down into the 6s. There's just not a lot down here. So housekeeping item. Next week is a new tournament for the PGA Tour. They're co-branding the Scottish Open along with the DP World Tour. We presume that will be the event that has the biggest DFS contests, but our show would actually be on the 4th of July, and Noto and I are both traveling next week, so we will not be around for the show. We are not sure if we've got a couple of replacements to do the show for us next week, or if we're going to have to scrap it for the week. So we might not be around next week. Noto and I won't be, but if we've got enough bodies to get you a show, we'll do that. Otherwise, we'll still have you covered with our written content over at RotoGrinders. And if we are away for a week, it will just be for that 1 week. So That's just the housekeeping before we get out of here. And then we'll have the Open Championship coming up in just a couple of weeks. So anything else for this blessed tournament before we get out of here?
Worst case scenario is our replacements come in and crush, and then we're not back in 2 weeks. They just
Wally pipped in a couple of weeks. See, we have to break this tournament down, which I've found if I don't have a vested interest because I'm not going this year is a little less exciting than when I am. And then I try to find it was always fun scrolling through the tee times for this tournament because I like to follow a group around, and trying to find a group of 3 where I can stomach rostering all 3 is always a challenge, a fun little game of Easter egg hunting through the groups once the tee times come out. But since I'm not going this year, it's a little more painful to break this thing down.
We did our best. We tried to have some enthusiasm. Hopefully we had some decent takes.
This was only 35 minutes. I have no idea how we could have made this longer than 40 minutes. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, we even covered the Senior Open last week. We talked about the DP World Tour, Live. We did everything.
We did everything. That's just how bad this tournament is. There's 156 golfers, but probably only about 40 that are remotely rosterable. If you play a 60 golfer player pool for your mass multi-entry and you can't seem to get that narrow player pool down, try it this week. I think you'll be able to narrow it down quite a bit more than most weeks. So suits up well with the way that I build my multi-entries as well. And if you are a single lineup player, build one best lineup. Noto likes to do that a lot of weeks. That is a challenge this week, trying to settle on that one that looks the best out of all this mess. So with that, we'll go ahead and get out of here. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to our producer, Steve, for helping us out behind the scenes. Thanks to Noto for joining me. I'm Justin. Again, we'll be back in 2 weeks. We'll see if anybody Wally pips us next week while Noto and I are away. But in any case, we'll be back hopefully in a couple weeks. We'll get you your content that you need over at RotoGrinders. Check out scoresandodds.com for all things sports betting. And until then, we'll wish you a good week, everybody. Take care.